Some of this year's Pro Bowlers weighing in on Peyton Manning, who is going for his second Super Bowl ring this Super Bowl Sunday, which is February, I think, 2nd. Do you know that date, Mark Brunel, NFL analyst? I don't know dates. Can you help me out with dates?
It is the 2nd.
Okay, good. I'm glad. We asked this question. How much would this win over the Seahawks help his legacy in terms of cementing it, in your opinion?
In my opinion, 9 days from now, after Peyton Manning wins the Super Bowl, he will be the best quarterback to ever play in the NFL.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Now, the reason is because he moves from one category to the next. He moves from winning a Super Bowl to winning multiple Super Bowls. And for me, quarterback greatness is defined by what they do in the playoffs. Right now, he has one Super Bowl win. Not a great playoff record, but 2 Super Bowl championships moves him to a whole different level.
Even though there's this other guy with 4 at the top.
What guy
Yes.
would that be?
Joe Montana.
Yeah.
Terry Bradshaw, but I think you're talking about Joe
Yeah,
Montana.
about Joe Montana. Would you elevate then Peyton above Montana?
I would make Peyton number 1, and this is why. And this is a tough call because we're going to be talking about some great quarterbacks.
Right.
And there's some names certainly worthy of being considered the best. I believe, as great as Joe Montana was, I believe he benefited greatly from Bill Walsh and that system and a great supporting cast. I don't want to take anything away from Joe Montana, but he benefited from that passing game, that system, the West Coast offense, and that was part of the reasons why he and so many others with him were so great.
All right. Stephen A. So he says this would elevate him.
Well, let me ask you this question, Mark.
Yep.
Is that the same way you feel about Tom Brady?
No,
Or Belichick?
for a different reason. I believe that Tom Brady benefited from a few guys. Great defensive players, Teddy Bruschi, Willie McGinnis, Richard Seymour, the list goes on. Ty Law.
Yeah.
When they won their Super Bowls, they had that core group of defensive players, and they were a special group. Not only what they brought on the field, but what they brought in the locker room, the leadership, and so. Again, it's a tough call. I'm not taking away from Tom Brady. He's a great one. He deserves to be mentioned at least in the top 3. But he certainly benefited from those defensive players back then.
You buying Stephen A?
You know what? I'm buying that. I mean, when you take into account what he's saying, you're talking about Joe Montana with Bill Walsh's system, and also on the defensive side of the ball. Skip, how many times did I hear you rave about Charles Haley? And obviously you got Ronnie Lott and those boys, and so you can't ignore them for Montana when you look at a guy like Tom Brady, the defenders that he had on the defensive side of the ball, Belichick, the system, even though he did it, you know, with relative no names. I mean, Branch and those boys could play, there's no doubt, but at the same time, still in all, when I think about Peyton Manning, yeah, I know Freeney was on the opposite side of the ball on defense, but it was all about Manning. We know that. He was the leader on the field. He was the leader in the locker room, even though he had Tony Dungy when he won his first Super Bowl, Caldwell when he lost that second trip to the Super Bowl. I'm just thinking about it, and the more I think about it, you know, Mark makes a really good point.
Yeah.
Makes a really poignant argument because the personnel that you have matters. The leadership in your locker room that you do or do not have matters. And if that's a part of the equation, which for all intent and purposes it should be to some degree, and Peyton Manning is on the verge of winning the Super Bowl championship with 2 different teams. Wow, that's a discussion that we can have.
Back to Mark. I have a column that I wrote for ESPN.com that's running as we speak. The point of the column is, I rank Super Bowls with some degree of difficulty in whom you face as your opponent. Peyton's 2 Super Bowls. First one was against what was really a backup quarterback to me and Rex Grossman, and the 5th-ranked defense in the NFL, the Chicago Bears. I made that about a 4 on a scale of 10 difficulty in a Super Bowl. Next Super Bowl, Drew Brees, number 1 offense. Defense ranked 25th in the NFL, and Peyton threw a late interception that turned the game the other way.
there.
You were there, 74-yard pick 6. Degree of difficulty in that game, I said it was about a 5 for Peyton Manning. Now comes Richard Sherman and company. Some people are saying greatest secondary ever. Some people are already making the case that this could be, maybe could even be a top 10 all-time defense. We'll see how they fare. But the point is that out of Super Bowl heaven into Peyton's lap has fallen Richard Sherman and company, and I think degree of difficulty here is a 9 on a scale of 10.
It's a tough one.
Okay, so if Peyton wins a week from Sunday night, whatever date that might be.
I have no idea.
No idea. He could effectively win 2 or 3 Super Bowls in one night in public perception, because it could pole vault him, as you already have, up that list, especially if he lures the boom on the Legion of Boom. If he does a number on them, and I'm not saying he will, I'm just doing the hypothetical. If Demarius catches 3 touchdown passes and they win big, not saying it's going to happen, I'm just doing this. I think people would sit back and say, wow.
Yes.
So you look at all the 2 Super Bowl winners, and there's a long list of those. I think Peyton would quickly elevate above all those, including John Elway
Yes.
and Eli. And then you would say, well, Tom Brady is sitting up there at the 2 spot. He's won 3, but he has not won 1 in 9 years, been to 2, and he's 8-8 in his last 16 playoff games. Okay, you could start making the case, Peyton above them. Obviously, Peyton coming off the greatest statistical season ever this year. We all proclaiming the greatest regular season quarterback ever.
Without a doubt.
Even though I remain highly skeptical of his postseason production off the high seeds that he has won in the regular season, I would have to start rethinking my position. Okay, now, quickly.
Okay.
Joe Montana's degree of difficulty, just for the younger viewers out there. He played Cincinnati twice in Super Bowls. They were a 1-point favorite in the first one. They were a 7-point favorite against Boomer Esiason and company, but it took Joe Montana throwing it was 34 seconds left, touchdown pass to win the game. That's pretty good. Now, the other one, high degree of difficulty to me, was against Marino and Miami. They were a 3.5-point favorite. That was pretty tough. And yet they won convincingly. I think it was 38-16. Then they did get Elway's Denver with it was statistically ranked high defense, but they were 12-point favorites and they won 55-10, low degree of difficulty. So I still think it would be hard for me to put Peyton past Joe, even though I love your point.
Yeah, he had a good argument. Mark, let's get your take on this. Seahawks safety Cam Chancellor said that basically the defense would definitely get at Peyton Manning on Sunday. So let's take a listen and get Mark's thoughts.